Hello, monsters, minions, and masters of the macabre, and welcome to Chocolate Chip Horror, the only podcast with ooey gooey horror goodness in every bite. I'm the Wolfman himself, Anthony, and I'm joined by my wife, Andrea, the Queen of Heartbeats, who will be your villains for this listening session. Today is July 9th, 2026, and this is episode 3 of our podcast. If you didn't get a chance to listen to our first 2 episodes, feel free to check those out once this one is over. New episode every Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts. We're even on iHeartRadio now for anyone who uses that platform, so you got options. Also, let me remind you, ghouls, to visit us in the digital graveyard. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to connect with us, see some of our artwork, and get updates on everything we're digging into. While you're at it, go check out our official Etsy store at etsy.com/shop/chocolate-chip-horror, where you can grab one of our limited edition cookie tins, handmade and designed by our very own Queen of Heartbeats, and filled with scary vinyl stickers and magnetic bookmarks, all hand-drawn, printed, laminated, and die-cut by yours truly. Get them while supplies last, or die trying. So on today's episode, we're gonna take it back to the coziness of Grandma and Grandpa's house with M. Night Shyamalan's first found footage film, The Visit. Say that 3 times fast. First found footage film. That's good. It's a good thing that this mic has a pop filter in front of it because it would be getting spit everywhere.
And would a visit to Grandma's be complete without a piping hot tray of chocolate chip cookies right from the oven? Especially a really clean oven. Of course not. This week's snack is chocolate chip cookies with a little extra blood. Love added right in. If you've ever watched Semi-Homemade with Sandra Lee, and let's be real, if you're a millennial, you've probably seen it.
Yep.
You'll really appreciate the ease of these yummy cookies. Want the recipe? Don't forget to head to our Substack.
All right. Now, these cookies are pretty rad, actually. You're a big fan of cookies. Like, if there's one dessert that you actually really enjoy, it's cookies. So, what's your litmus test for what determines a good cookie from a cookie that's dead and stankin'?
Has to be soft.
Okay.
It has to be a little bit crispy on the edges. It has to have chocolate chips. And
So wait, even if it's like a snickerdoodle, it's got to have chocolate chips?
see, snickerdoodles are more your thing than they are mine.
Okay.
But sure. I'll do a snickerdoodle,
Okay.
but not my first choice. And basically anything with caramel.
So chocolate chips, caramel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing all this down so that our next anniversary, I will have the perfect cookie for you.
Sure you will.
That is my goal. I will have the perfect cookie for you. I might have to buy it. I ain't cooking it, but you'll have it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we get into this, for any of our new listeners, people who are just tuning in, these reviews are usually pretty spoiler heavy. So if you haven't seen the film that we're about to give you our review of, and you don't want us to ruin it for you, you can stop the podcast here and check it out. At the time of this recording, the movie that we're actually doing today is available to stream on Amazon Prime Video, Fandango at Home, and YouTube TV. So I guess I should give them a quick and dirty synopsis of the film that we're doing today. So this is M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit from 2015. And not to spoil too much for you, just to give you a real quick thing on it. The Visit stars Australian actress Olivia de Jong as Becca, who is 14, level-headed teen, aspiring documentarian, and her younger brother Tyler, who is also a fellow Australian actor, played wonderfully by Ed Oxenbould, who is a purveyor of dope rhymes. I'm only reading that because that's what I typed. He's got aspirations of being Vanilla Ice is the only thing that I can come up with. I don't know. You're going to be treated to his rap skills on several occasions through this film.
Yes, you will.
Whether you want it or not. So just prepare yourself for that. That might be the scariest part of this entire movie.
I agree.
If you can get through his rapping, the rest of the film will be a cakewalk. He's definitely going through some sort of identity crisis or something. And even his sister refers to him as ethnically challenged. But we see a lot of that in American suburbia, don't we? So let's move on. So anyway, Becca and Tyler's mother, Loretta, played by the amazing Catherine Hahn.
Poncho.
She tells her kids that she hasn't spoken to her parents, their grandparents, for 15 years. And apparently they weren't exactly pleased with Loretta's choice in boyfriends back when she was in high school. They were even less pleased by the fact that she was marrying him, and then even more after finding out that this guy was her substitute teacher. So not only is he a jerk, but he's also like inappropriate. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when she told them that part, but she marries him anyway, and they are not happy about that. And this leads to this huge family falling out. She ends up storming out, hasn't spoken to him since. So now, years later, Loretta's parents found her on the internet. I can only imagine it was like Facebook or something.
The World Wide Web.
Yeah. Somehow they found her and found out that she has 2 kids, and they want to meet their grandkids, like any grandparents would. So at first, she was not into it. In the film, she even says, I told them no, and they told me we were doing it anyway. And she was just like, whatever. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't as strict as my mom was, because when my mom said no, that was like the end of it. But they were able to talk her into saying yes. So
We see a trend of questionable decisions from Loretta.
yeah, we do. And we'll get into that. But, she agrees. She sends him on a train to meet up with Nana and Papa, played wonderfully by Deanna Dunnigan and Peter McRobbie, respectively. And for the remainder of this episode, I will be referring to the grandparents as Nana and Papa. So anyway, Becca, once again, being the aspiring filmmaker that she is, she decides that she's going to film this entire thing to see if she can be the catalyst for closure between her mother and her grandparents. So she's going to try to fix whatever issue happened between them. For a 14-year-old, I really feel like that's kind of not her job to even
Yeah.
attempt to do that. And if she told her mom that she was actually going to do that, her mom should have said, that's not your responsibility.
Mhm.
Like, you don't have to do that. But, in the film, I guess we are to assume she's just shooting this because she wants to film it. She doesn't let her mom know that what she's really trying to do is to rekindle that relationship between them. I'd like to think her mom would have stepped in if she knew that they were doing that. So anyway, that's the
We would
backdrop.
hope she would step in,
Right.
but I actually, in my notes, I wrote down, and I mean, we're jumping pretty far ahead
Mhm.
here, but did you notice that when the children show her the grandparents, and she's like, who are these people that you've been with? Those are not your grandparents.
Right. So we kind of just spoiled it for you right then and there, but I mean, we're going to get to that. So stay with me.
But she, instead of immediately calling the cops, she sits down on the couch.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a moment there where I was kind of like, you just realized that those are not your parents, they're grandparents. And you're awfully calm about this. Like, why are you so calm? Why are you taking so long to do things?
Mhm.
Very questionable decision making in this film,
Yeah.
specifically from Loretta. But yeah, so that's essentially what's going on in this. And you know, this is M. Night's first entrance into the found footage subgenre. We've never seen him do this with any other film. And when the film came out, I feel like found footage was already pretty well cemented in the genre of horror,
Definitely.
and a lot of people were doing it. So I don't know if he did it because he was like, I think I can make the perfect found footage film, or if he was doing it because he was like, people will definitely go see this. I'm not sure. But we see everything through the lens of Becca's camera. Like, that's what's capturing all of this. And it's really strange because, like, M. Night is a pretty big director.
Mhm.
He put a whole $5 million into this film. If anybody can guess before I say it, how much the film actually pulled in at the box office worldwide, go ahead and leave a comment.
And not just $5 million, it was $5 million of his own dollars.
Oh, it was his own money?
He funded it completely.
See, I didn't know that. That's even more ridiculous. So he put in $5 million of his own money, just money lying around, and the film made $100 million at the box office. And it just made me think, like, why did that film and the format that he chose for that film, why did that work so well for him? Because let's be honest, like, he can be kind of hit or miss, but
Mhm.
like for this movie, it worked for him.
I mean, maybe it's just simply the fact that, he's had success in the past, and let's be real, he's a bit of an acquired taste.
Right.
You can't go into his films really having any major expectations
Yeah.
because then you'll be disappointed. Like, you're setting yourself up for failure if you go in thinking, "Oh, this is gonna be amazing," or "I'm gonna understand this the first go round." It's just not gonna happen
Yeah. Yeah.
because, let's be real, he's the same director who gave us The Sixth Sense and Signs.
Right. Arguably two of his best movies.
I mean, The Sixth Sense is probably one of the greatest horror films.
Right.
But then he also gave us The Happening and Old, and while neither one of us has actually seen The Last Airbender, I mean, we've heard that it's abysmal.
Yeah. And even after seeing The Village, which I personally don't mind, after seeing that film, I was like, okay, so I can't really assume that whatever he touches is gold.
Mhm.
And then we did get like The Happening and other films, and I was just like, okay, I don't. I'm hoping this is not a downward spiral for him, but like I started to take the marketing for his films with a grain of salt. Like,
Mhm.
after The Village, I started to have my doubts. I was like,
But you like The
I
Village.
do, but I mean, when compared to like The Sixth Sense or even Signs, which scared the crap out of me, obviously everybody here knows that I'm afraid of aliens. If you did not know that, now you know. I hate grays, like extraterrestrials. And so when I saw Signs for the first time, I was like, great, it's going to be these grays. They're going to have these big soulless black eyes. They're going to be popping out. I'm thinking of movies like Fire in the Sky and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And of course, like Communion, which is probably one of the worst ever. So when I finally saw the aliens come on screen, I was shook. Like there's two major scenes in that film that scared the crap out of me.
It's
Right.
behind.
When those kids saw it and it came from behind that bush, that scared the crap out of me. And then at the very end, when everything is supposed to be, and they lived happily ever after, and he goes and moves the television and it's in the reflection and it gives you that huge jump slam. Like I turned white, dude, in the theater. I like covered my face. I remember covering my face like, you know what I'm saying? So like, when you compare my experience with The Sixth Sense and Signs, and then my experience watching The Village, after The Village, I was like, well, that was entertaining, but that was not on the same level as Signs.
And then we didn't even mention Lady in the Water.
Yeah, and I don't remember anything about that film.
I remember not liking it.
I'm pretty sure I fell asleep. That was probably a really good nap that I had.
Like, all of that being said, I feel like it's safe to say that he's a true artist and he really does believe in his work.
Mhm.
And he has really creative, unique stories that I think draw people in.
Right. And not everything he does is going to stick,
Mhm.
but he's out there saying, well, what about this? What about this? And to me, the Visit was definitely a slight resurrection. Like I said, it had a pretty good reception. And then just to use as an example, like Knock at the Cabin, I like that movie.
I like it too.
I was like, okay, we're getting back to the basics here. Like, this is a good film. So,
And Split.
yes, I forgot about Split. Sorry about that. Yeah. But we obviously have to talk about the characters,
Mhm.
because the two characters, Tyler and Becca, who, we're following through this entire journey, and they're very different. She is making it very clear multiple times throughout the film that she considers herself the more intelligent of the two. And he's not really helping that argument, Like she says to him, you're not as dumb as your standardized tests would lead on to, or something like that. And that was like one of a couple times where, she was making it sound like I'm the smart one, you're the dumb one, But then you actually had an idea about their relationship and the juxtaposition between the two characters.
Yeah, like, I don't necessarily find Becca to be particularly mature. She just seems like, well, automatically she's a little bit older, so she theoretically should seem like she's the more mature one of the two, but
Right.
I don't know. She behaves like a child who has just been through a lot. She's experienced a lot of trauma. And one thing I'll say about both of the children, with them not actually having an established relationship with their grandparents and their dad left.
Right.
So really the only adult figure they have
Is
is their mom,
Right.
who, I mean, she seems like a nice person and you can tell that she loves them, but she has her own issues too.
Right.
And I feel like the whole family needs counseling. Everybody needs some extra therapy because, like, these kids are like, there's a lot going on with them. So Becca is a character I feel like she really inserts herself in situations that she shouldn't as a child.
Right.
Like the whole, "I need to find the elixir." Why is that your job, kid? And
Yeah.
that's just really sad.
I think by elixir, what she's essentially uh, referring to is the part where either her mother says she's sorry or her grandparents say, "We forgive you." Like,
Mhm.
that part is what the elixir is, you know? And I
Right.
mean, she's speaking a lot of times she speaks in very film-making
Mhm.
language, um, but essentially, she's just trying to find a way to get her grandparents and her mother to, like, make amends.
Right. She also can be pretty dismissive of other people. We see this a lot with Tyler, but we also see it with the other people that she interacts with throughout the film, like the people who come and check on Nana and Pop Pop
Mhm.
and the train conductor.
Right.
Like, she's super dismissive and doesn't wanna hear anything they have to say.
Mhm.
But who knows, maybe they both would have had some useful information for her.
She's kinda just like, anyway, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But, you know, when you do think about it, it's kinda like the only adult, like you said, that she's ever really been around
Right.
for any extended period of time is her mother. So she doesn't even really have a true respect
Mhm.
for other adult figures.
She also really struggles when Tyler calls her out about not looking at herself in the mirror,
Yep.
and when he's like, "Your shirt is inside out." So I think he's a goofball, Tyler, that is. He's a goofball, but it's very clearly some type of defense mechanism for
Yeah.
him, and he's actually very inquisitive, and he picks up on things way faster than Becca does. I mean, as soon as they get there, he basically realizes something is not right with these people.
Right. And that's why he starts investigating that shed.
Yeah,
Because most kids, when they got there and they saw Pop Pop standing outside of the shed, they wouldn't question what's in it. Like, he already picked up that something isn't right.
yeah. It doesn't help that also he's yelling, "Hey, Pop Pop! Hey, Pop Pop! Hey, Pop Pop!"
And
And
he's totally ignoring him.
he is so blatantly ignoring him. So I think that that makes it stand out even more that there's something weird going on with the
Mhm.
shed. And I think that on the surface, especially if you watch it just once, Becca seems to be the more likable character. But now that we've seen it more than once, I actually prefer Tyler over Becca. I found Becca to be pretty pretentious.
She does care for him. We see that later on in the film,
Mhm.
you know, he's having a moment where he has an issue with, being a germaphobe, and, I'm pretty sure that it started right after his father left. She says this is kind of his way of controlling things,
Mhm.
you know? But when he feels like there's something on his hand, he can't get it off, you know, she realizes he's being serious.
Right.
He's not being his normal goofy self, and she immediately jumps in to come to his aid. So she is a loving sister.
Mhm.
But I think, as you know, pointed out, she might think she's a lot smarter and more level-headed than she actually is as a young 14-year-old. That might be a result of the trauma that she actually went through, that she doesn't even realize that she went through,
Mhm.
that she doesn't even realize she is in some way building a defense against.
Right.
So it's a very interesting relationship that they have.
And we were talking about their maturity level. I think Becca is actually 15 and Tyler is 13.
Okay.
So it's like on one hand, Becca will come off as the mature one,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, she's willing to go play hide and seek underneath the house with Tyler.
Right, and we're led in the film to believe this is just something that her mother did, so
Mhm.
she's doing it too, you know, to kinda relive that whole thing, and by the way, that was one of the scariest scenes in the film.
Yeah, so it like, it starts off kinda like, "Oh, huh, are they a little bit old to do this?" And
Right.
then all of a sudden you see Nana.
"Here I come," and she's, like, crawling on her knees and everything. I was just like, "Whoa." Like, they didn't even need to have scary music for that scene to be scary, like,
No.
just seeing this old lady crawling fast. I was like, "Why is she so fast into the house like that?"
Fast and agile, and they were horrified.
Right, and, I mean, at one point afterwards, Becca is, like, looking at the camera trying to make sense of it, and she literally just shrugs it off, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, well," you know? Like, when I think about that, I'm just like, she really wasn't picking up on anything.
No, and Tyler is like, "Becca, this is not right," and
Right.
she's just like, "Oh, they're old, they're old." What?
Yeah. maybe her trauma is forcing her to see things through, like, not necessarily rose-colored glasses, but throughout the whole film, she's completely, dismissing everything
Mhm.
because they're older. So that is a common theme. And then, of course, things start to get weirder and weirder. Like, if what we just explained wasn't weird enough, like, it gets worse than that. And we see a lot of strange things occurring, and we're supposed to just assume, just like Becca is assuming, they're old. They do weird things when they're old. They get sick when they're old. One of the first scenes in the film is, Nana vomiting late at night. So Pop comes into the room right before he and Nana are going to go to bed, and he lets them know we're old, so we go to bed at like 9:30. So see you guys in the morning. But I think it was after midnight. Becca's like, I want cookies. So she decides to film herself going to get these cookies. And what she finds out is that Nana is still up, and she's like projectile vomiting
Mhm.
all over the place. Now, this is a place in the film where when I first saw it, it didn't occur to me that her choice to run in the opposite direction was just a little silly. Like, this is your grandmother. You've just met her. She's obviously so accepting of her grandmother right off the bat.
Mhm.
But then when she sees her grandmother throwing up all over the place, what she do? She turns and runs in the opposite direction. And I was just like, I don't think I would have done that.
Well, I mean, is it a callback to the dad when things get a little bit rough or they get a little bit scary?
It very well could be, you know? And
Mhm.
again, this might be a little bit more telling of her immaturity.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, most kids, if they see somebody throwing up, they're going to go, ew, and then move away. It doesn't matter who it is, you know? So even as level-headed and as mature as, she thinks she is, and I had, originally imagined she was, not that mature. I mean, you see your grandmother throwing up and you just run and start waking up Tyler, like,
I mean, I'm a pretty big emetophobe, so would I have gone down the steps? Probably not, but would I have at least stood at the top and gone, "Hey, you okay?"
yeah,
Probably.
and I could see you doing that.
Like, what do you think made Nana toss her cookies?
Well, when they were playing Yahtzee, she was eating them cookies like she had never had a meal in her life.
Right.
So it wouldn't surprise me if all that food that she's constantly cooking throughout the day, she
Uh-huh.
eats too much of it and gets sick.
Yeah.
Because she is old, that's true. And her stomach probably can't handle all that fatty food. Like, we see her making cookies, cakes, big breakfasts and everything. She
Yeah.
probably eats all that stuff, and then she gets sick and throws it up at night.
See, I was wondering if there may have been, like a lack of medication. Because Nana and Pop very clearly had been in the house for several days, like, they made themselves comfortable in
Right.
that house. It's been days without them getting whatever medication they normally would have gotten in the hospital
Right, where they actually came from.
where they actually came from, so I'm wondering if that could have been part of the vomiting episode. Another, theory that I had was maybe the delusions that she was starting to experience caused her to eat something that she shouldn't have.
Very, very perceptive because, when she goes through that entire spiel
Mhm.
with Becca later on in the film about aliens
Yeah,
and, these white
and the
beings with the,
water
in the
and
water with these yellow, I would not be surprised if she ate something in an effort to keep them away from her. Your first theory, though, that might actually come a little bit closer to the mark because as the movie progresses, so do the strange occurrences, not just from Nana, but from Pop too. And so I'm thinking he too should have probably been on some medication. And since breaking out and moving into that house, um, he wasn't on the medication to, you know, control his schizophrenia
Mm.
and to control his dementia and things like that. They
So
just
what we're assuming
right. That's
this
what we're
means.
assuming. But I mean, it makes sense to me. It's just like, both of them are older and they both exhibit a lot of behavior that a medical person would probably say, you probably should take something for that.
Mhm.
And since they haven't been getting it, I mean, that's a perfect reason for her to blow chucks everywhere. So as I said, things start to get progressively worse. We got grandma crawling under the house. And then, you know, when she is seen again late at night, she's completely naked.
and
she's like scratching
the door.
Yeah, and Tyler opens the door, and usually when somebody opens the door, you can hear it. She doesn't even turn around.
Mm-mm.
She's like so in her own world, buck naked, scratching this door. And when they bring it up to Pop-Pop, because he's the only person that's going to be able to explain her behavior, Pop-Pop brings up a medical condition called sundowning syndrome. Now, I didn't look it up, but they gave a fairly accurate description of the ailment. And it involves like confusion, and it usually happens at night.
So I did look it up, and it says that it could start in the afternoon and get progressively worse as the day goes on. So it
Okay.
can continue through the evening and nighttime hours. Um, like you mentioned, it did say something about confusion, but also I think hallucinations.
Now, if she's hallucinating, that would explain the aliens. But Pop-Pop, he believes in aliens too.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean he is also suffering from this? Because he wasn't doing anything at night. It was just her.
I was wondering the same thing, or if it's just like something else. I mean, I feel like there's several conditions that could cause hallucinations.
Right.
I don't know.
I just found it weird because, like, if it's just affecting her and she believes these aliens, what's affecting him that helps him to also believe that there are aliens? You know, like that what she is saying is correct. And I don't think that it was scripted. I think they both actually believe that.
It also can cause pacing and wandering, which we see Nana do.
Right.
Rocking in a chair continuously, severe difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep.
So we see pretty much all the symptoms of sundowning in this film.
Sudden mood swings, frustration, or becoming easily alarmed for no clear reason. Feelings of panic or nervousness that intensify as daylight fades. Vocal outbursts, screaming, or uncontrollable crying.
Interesting. Okay. So
Yahtzee.
I mean, when she yells Yahtzee, it's ridiculous. So this movie is basically one big ad for whatever medication you need to take to treat sundowning.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then, of course, there's Pop-Pop's diaper shed. So somewhere
Everybody's got skeletons in the closet, right?
Somewhere towards the beginning of the film, like we had mentioned earlier, Tyler is getting very curious about this shed that Pop-Pop keeps going out to. And so he decides to investigate. And when he goes in there, Pop-Pop's not in there. He waited for him to leave. So he goes in there after her, and he immediately smells something hard. So he's looking around and he sees on like a table or something, like this big pile of something that has like flies buzzing around and everything. Long story short, it is a huge, like almost SpongeBob sized pile of diapers.
Soiled diapers.
Soiled diapers. And he actually picks one up. He picks up one of the diapers to essentially confirm that it is in fact a diaper covered in poop. And he throws it down and just panics and falls out of the door of the shed trying to get out of there. And that's when Nana is basically like, yeah, your Pop-Pop has incontinence. And she says that he gets ashamed, so he hides these things in the shed and then burns them later. I have never heard of anyone doing that before.
Yeah.
It was a little strange. I was just like, they had to have just made that up for the film. I don't think anyone has ever done anything like that before. It would have actually made more sense to me if in a rage he like just smeared his crap all over the walls or something.
I was gonna say, people do some weird things with fecal matter,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't necessarily blame that on them being older. Who knows what's going on there, but not everything is them being old.
Right. And for an older dude, he's actually pretty strong and fast. Like when we say old, in case you haven't seen the film, he's not like on his deathbed. He's not like 101 or anything. If I had to guess, I'd say that the grandparents are probably in their late 70s, maybe early 80s. But even at that age, like Pop-Pop is, he's kind of tall. He's not like overweight or fat or anything like that. I mean, he's not muscular, but I
They're
mean, like,
both they're both pretty fit.
yeah, for their age, they are in pretty good shape,
Mhm.
both of them. Neither one of them uses a walker, a cane, a wheelchair, none of that. And in one scene, I guess he gets confused and thinks that somebody across the street is watching him or has been watching him. And, you know, when we think of like an angry old man accusing somebody of watching him or staring at him, I guess, at least me, I picture, an old guy standing on the other side of the street, raising his fist in the air like, stay off my lawn, yada, yada. No, dude goes running over
Yeah.
to this
He
guy,
attacks him.
like, and attacks him, like, knocks him down on the ground and is getting ready to, like, beat the crap out of him. And I was like, whoa. Not only is he, like, kind of big, but he's, like, fast
Mhm.
and kind of strong. And we see him chopping wood in one scene, and, like, you can't be a frail old man to do that, So we should have probably assumed that, he's a lot more physical than some older people who are the same age. It was scary to see. I was just like, I don't want that old guy coming after me.
I mean, hence why they were able to escape the hospital together.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if he put his fist through an orderly's face to get out of there.
Mhm.
Who knows? And then there's that one scene towards the end of the film where we see Becca
Mhm.
go into the shed where he usually is, not the crap shed, a different shed. They've got a couple sheds.
Yeah, it's a farm.
Yeah. But she goes in there to see where he is, and he's literally sitting down with a gun under his chin. And as soon as she comes in, he jumps up and he's like, I was cleaning it. I was just cleaning it.
Wasn't it straight up in his mouth?
Was it in his mouth or was it
I
under
think
his
he was in
chin?
his mouth.
Okay. In that scene, this proves your earlier point, which is that Becca must be dealing with some sort of trauma herself because she didn't even react in that scene. Like, she knows what she saw because it was unmistakable. We all saw it. But she doesn't even react exactly how a typical person would act. Like, what are you doing? Give me that. Like, why were you putting this in your mouth, Papa? Why were you doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't do anything like that. She just backed away like, okay, all right.
But it took that extreme behavior for her to be like, huh, you know what, Tyler? Maybe we should do everything in our power to go home.
That was the straw that broke her back. Meanwhile, Tyler had already said on camera, I've reached my limit. But she hadn't reached hers yet. It wasn't until she saw Papa with the gun in his mouth that she was like, okay, maybe things are a little weird now.
It was Papa with a gun in his mouth and Nana laughing at the wall
Mm-hmm.
and saying that she had the deep darkies.
The deep darkies. I don't know why. Like, just the way that she said it and the way she was looking at the camera when she said it, I was like, wow, that was a very intense scene,
Mhm.
And it was followed up by her trying to suffocate herself with her scarf.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude, what is happening right
What is
now?
happening?
Yeah. For anyone who is even considering watching this film, just be prepared for some of the crazy stuff that you're gonna see. And of course, all of this weirdness and strange occurrences that are happening, they have to lead up to a big twist because that's kind of M. Night's thing. Like, he makes these films, and then in the film, there's always some crazy twist that you didn't see coming. Or maybe you did see it coming. Who knows? I mean, some people are smarter than I am. But yeah, so it's a M. Night Shyamalan film, so it's going to have a big twist. And those aren't their grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
So in the film, the only way that they can communicate is via Skype because apparently there's no signal in the house for phones to connect to. But you have enough signal to connect to the internet to do a Skype call. How do you not have? I'm just a little confused.
Mm-hmm.
Like, clearly Wi-Fi was a thing. And we even see Becca with their laptop outside. So they got a real good connection. I don't even think I can take my laptop outside and still be connected to the internet. But they're able to bring the laptop outside. They're able to talk to your mom. It didn't skip. Sometimes I'll be here in the house right next to the router and I'll be having a meeting with somebody and it'll fall out of sync.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But nope, she had perfect fidelity the entire time. I guess I should probably not point that out because it kind of ruins the logic of the film.
I mean, there's not really a lot of logic going on anyway.
Right.
So
We have
it's
to take
fine.
everything with a grain of salt because it is a fictitious story.
Mhm.
You've got to use your imagination. And I don't think a lot of people are used to doing that these days, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen a film that I thought was really good and everyone's like, this was wrong and that wouldn't happen and this is unrealistic, and because of that it took me completely out of the film, and I was just like, that just means you weren't using your imagination. But yeah, when we find out that those people that they've been staying with for days are not their grandparents, that was supposed to be like the big shock. And it was shocking.
Yeah.
But if I compare how I reacted to that to how I reacted when I found out that Bruce Willis's character was dead
Mm-hmm.
and Haley Joel Osment was the one who was trying to help him, when the entire film I thought it was the other way around, I was like, wait a minute, what?
That, The Others.
Right. The Others is a great example. Or even the first Saw.
Mm-hmm.
When Jigsaw gets up off the ground, like there are few films that give me a twist like that. This film, it was shocking, but it was not the same level of twist as, some of his earlier films or other films that have big twists in them like that.
Yeah, I honestly feel like the clues leading up to the big reveal are a lot more obvious in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have people who come from the hospital looking for Nana and Pop Pop because they said that they haven't been at the hospital in a while,
Right.
and they also are like, we know that they really like gossip, so I wanted to talk to them. Oh, they didn't come to my house to visit me, or I've been calling them and they haven't answered
So
the
people are
phone.
actively looking for these
Mhm.
people, and they're elderly. And obviously, since they're older, the first thing you're going to think is, did they pass? Do I need to do a wellness check?
Right.
Something like that. That was like clue number one, that these people must not be them.
Mhm.
And it was just so convenient how when the first guy stopped by the house, they weren't there. What was the girl's name that stopped by the house?
Stacy.
Stacy. When Stacy stopped by, that's when essentially the jig was up.
Right.
And unfortunately, she didn't make it. I'm not going to tell you how, but yeah. I mean, she was getting ready to blow their whole spot up, so she had to be dealt with, and she was. But yeah, it's just like there was a lot of clues that pointed to the twist.
Mhm.
I don't remember any big clues in Sixth Sense that pointed to that twist.
Everything was very subtle.
Right. It was very subtle. And again, I know that there are other viewers and horror fans who are a lot smarter when it comes to finding these things out. But this film, I kind of knew what was happening.
Mhm.
And that didn't take away from the enjoyment, but let's just suffice it to say that if you're looking for a huge what the heck moment, this movie is probably not the one you want to watch first.
I agree.
Now, when that big twist actually happens, that's when the film really starts to escalate and things start happening pretty fast. So we discover Stacy's body, and we're supposed to be anticipating either the police or the kid's mom or both to be showing up at any moment. But we have to bide our time because obviously escaping the house is not an option. I'm not really sure why. If they could get under the house,
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they didn't just find the first opportunity to just dip. You know what I'm saying? To just run, knock on other people's doors, do something, like anything. Because at that point, it was clear these people are not my grandparents. I am actually in danger.
Mhm.
I need to get out of here as quickly as possible. Like, I would have done anything.
Mhm.
Nana put Becca in the oven twice.
Twice.
2 times she was in the oven. Will you clean the oven for me? And then she's like, get all the way in there. And she like
And then she
closes,
closes the
closes
door.
the door. Now she doesn't turn it on, which is what most people think that she's going to do. But just the fact that she put her in there and then closed the door, Tyler was standing like, Nana, her doing that one time would have been all that I needed to like just dart out of the front door.
Mhm.
But they don't do that. They decide they're going to play along with this thing and
Keep
try
it
to
cool.
keep it cool and try to survive until their mom and the police arrive. And so Pop-Pop gets this crazy idea that he wants to have one last night doing something family oriented. So he chooses the age-old classic, a nice game of Yahtzee. And it's anything but nice.
Mhm.
And we find out so many things during that game of Yahtzee. First off, we see Nana at her craziest.
She's like killing these cookies.
Like one after the other, shoving them in her mouth.
Mhm.
And then she like rolls the dice, rolls them on the table. We don't even know what the dice say, but she just looks at the camera and screams, Yahtzee! I'm just like, whoa. Like, things went from 0 to 10 real quick.
Pop mentions how in the cafeteria, they always call him a Yahtzee master.
Right, and then Nana followed it up with, that takes 10 years.
And she's so disgusted.
It's like, I didn't know that there was an actual timeline for how long it takes for you to become a Yahtzee master, but she does.
She does.
She's like, it takes 10 years. I was like, oh, excuse me. So, obviously, at some point, things take a very dark turn, and Becca decides that she's going to go in that basement that they told her not to go into. Now, at the beginning of the film, they just casually mentioned that there's mold in the basement and not to go in there. That probably would have been the end of it for most people. So I was a little surprised to see her go down in that basement. Like, what really compelled her to go down there?
I think it's just that she got really suspicious, and she's like, well, why do they not want me in the basement, especially after the whole shed incident?
Right. And I mean, I guess that makes sense. I just, like, if I knew that the cops and my mom were on the way, but I didn't feel brave enough to just run out of the house, I probably would just stay as long as I could, stay put as long as I could. She goes in the basement. Lo and behold, she discovers her actual dead grandparents that have been murdered pretty viciously by a hammer, I think. And then she finds the maple shade, like, jacket or bag.
Yeah, their uniforms.
Their uniforms, right. And that's when she puts 2 and 2 together. Pop comes down the stairs, and now he's chasing her, and, like, it becomes this crazy thing. He's already assaulted Tyler. Tyler's laying on the floor with this huge red bump on his head. He obviously got bludgeoned. And then Pop catches her and locks her in a room, and then he starts, like, antagonizing Tyler. And then he basically calls Tyler out about his germaphobe thing. And after doing that, he takes one of his dirty diapers and literally shoves it right in his face.
And it was a fresh one.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the Yahtzee game, his stomach makes that real loud sound. Like, he clearly trusted a fart that he shouldn't have trusted, and he has to, like, get up and leave the table. So he's gone for a little bit. And that's when he goes to the basement to find Becca there, basically finding out the truth. So when he comes back upstairs, he's got this fresh diaper full of crap.
Oh no, you didn't notice what he did?
He took his pants down, right?
When he's in the kitchen, that's when he takes his pants down.
Yeah.
Behind the counter.
Right. He takes them down, and then he waddles up to Tyler and is like, Tyler, and he's like, I never liked you. And he's like, you got a germ issue, don't you? And then he shoves the, like, crap-filled diaper right on his face. And he starts spreading on his shoulders, too. And I was completely disgusted. Crap in films is always just like, it's always one of those things where I'm like, they could show buckets of blood, and I'm fine. But the moment they show, like, vomit, I have sometimes an issue with, but a lot of times vomit looks kind of fake. But when they show crap, I'm just like, ugh, I cannot. It reminds me of that scene in Trainspotting. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just type in Trainspotting breakfast scene. That's all I'm going to give you. It's revolting. So things take a turn for the worst, and Becca's in the bedroom, and Nana's crawling under the bed, and she gets under the covers, and they get into this huge scuffle, and ultimately, out of an act of desperation, Becca is able to kill Nana. So then when she comes back downstairs, Tyler is still, like, shook. He's frozen in place, much like the football game that he described in the film, where he basically, I guess, was feeling guilt about his dad leaving, feeling like maybe he had something to do with it when he didn't tackle that kid at the football game that he played. So there he is, frozen just like he was that day on the field. And it takes seeing his sister get slammed by Pop for him to snap out of it. And he goes full on, like, linebacker and just rams into Pop. And he starts screaming about these football moves, like, watch his hips. And he goes moshing into him again. And then when he's on the ground, he kills him in a pretty awesome way. I'm not going to spoil that one for you. But he kills Pop. And, you know, then they leave the house, and miraculously the cops and the mom are right there.
Yeah.
No backup, No SWAT team, nothing like that. It's just they run out there into the arms of their mother. So, I mean, it was entertaining enough, but the ending was just, I mean, toward the end, I was feeling like it was getting a little silly. I wanted to kind of bring up the thematic undertones of the film. And obviously, they exaggerate that in the film, but those stereotypes are actually real. Like the concepts around getting older, I think a lot of it, plays a part in making the plot seem relatable because we all know or have known, at least at some point in our life, an older person who was suffering the effects of getting older, whether it was memory loss or, they become less mobile, things like that. Like we can all relate to that. So we don't automatically jump to the conclusion that these people are just crazy. We just assume that they're older. So granted, the stereotypes are exaggerated, but they're still rooted in like the current stereotypes about old people and the act of getting old. And I think that worked for M. Night. That might not have worked for somebody like I could never see somebody like Eli Roth trying to shoot this film. It would just be so ridiculous and nothing about it would be relatable or even close to realism. But for M. Night, I can honestly say I felt like he did a good job. As his first and only found footage film, I think he did an okay job on it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't bad. A lot of people just have a fear of like getting older and everything that leads up to
Right.
dying. So like you get sicker, not being able to do the things you could do, being less mobile, forgetful. We've talked about this before. The idea of forgetting a loved one, we saw that in like The Notebook or even 1981's On Golden Pond with Henry and Jane Fonda.
I've never seen that.
They actually showed me that in school. They showed me that in school. I don't even remember what the lesson was about, like the unit we were talking about. It may have been on like the effects of like Alzheimer's disease,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I can't remember, but it was in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed us that film. And in one scene, Henry Fonda's character, he's like not very far from the house at all. And somehow he gets completely lost. And that scene wouldn't have been nearly as scary, but the way that they shot it, they wanted you to feel the fear that he was feeling as he looked around and he didn't recognize where he was.
Mm.
And it was just like when he finally found, the entrance, he's like breathing heavy and everything. And it's almost like he didn't realize what was happening at the time. And when he looks back at it, he's just like, I was like, for a minute there, I was completely lost in a familiar place.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really like, that's a big fear that a lot of people have is that, they won't be able to remember places or people or memories that they hold dear. James Leland Kirby, aka The Caretaker, he released an album between 2016 and 2019. It was like an act every year or so, or 2 acts every year up until 2019. And the album's called Everywhere at the End of Time. And essentially what it is it is a audible soundscape that explains or illustrates a person with dementia who is slowly losing their grip on reality, their memories, and the music is supposed to represent that degradation of their mind. And so in the beginnings, we hear a lot of music that sounds very much like the 20s and 30s, stuff that they would have listened to back then. And it's kind of mixed with some different sound effects. The whole entire album is like 6.5 hours. But as the acts progress, that music starts to become more and more distorted. And the lovely sounds that we heard are now being replaced by like distorted, eerie sounds that don't sound like music. Or maybe it'll start to play a song and then it'll immediately cut it and it'll go into something else that doesn't sound like that. And it just becomes more and more just unnerving as it continues to happen. And the music leads you away from sounds that, are familiar to very distorted, uneasy, even like horrifying sounds. It becomes clear that they've accepted the fact that this is happening. There's nothing they can do about it, and their days are numbered. And it goes all the way through the entire 6.5 hours until you get nothing but distortion. There's nothing that you can hear that sounds like music or anything. It's completely distorted. And then slowly but surely, you hear nothing. just silence.
Mm-hmm.
And that obviously signifies them passing on. When I first listened to it, it only took me a few minutes to sort of get bored with it. And I was like, I want to skip ahead and just see what happens. I probably shouldn't have done that. Because when I did, one, I missed a pretty important transition or several transitions from what I was listening to where I skipped to. But then curiosity got the better of me and I wanted to hear what it sounded like later on. And it was frightening. Like, I would not listen to that, not just because I personally feel like dementia and Alzheimer's are scary, but because just the way that Caretaker put it together, it sounds like an audible nightmare. I mean, we talked about this in when we did our review of Undertone. Sometimes the sound is the worst part.
Yeah.
It's not always what you see on the screen. Sometimes it's what you hear, you know? And when you close your eyes and you hear some of these things, the only thing that you have to go on is what your mind is creating, not what you're being shown on the screen. When I think about the idea of getting older and people's stereotypes around it, that's a really scary thing. And I think this movie does a good job of not just exaggerating that for film's sake, but also just showcasing that.
I do feel like we touch on it a little bit with like the substance. The whole reason why she goes and she gets the substance is because she's getting older. What, she just turned 50 in the film?
I think so.
And Dennis Quaid's
Mhm.
character.
He's basically like, yeah, you're kind of done. We're going to find somebody better.
Right.
Or younger, basically.
Because she's too old, so there's no way she could continue to do this role.
Right.
So, really the whole idea of that is the fact that she was getting older. I don't think she knew what it was going to do, but she was trying to reverse the signs of aging so that she can continue on with her career.
And the way that they did it in that film was pretty cool. I guess I see the connection there. And after thinking about it, I don't feel like any other structure of the film would have worked. Like, found footage probably would have been the best way to get like the most visceral feeling from that plot. Like, if it had been shot like any other regular horror film, it might not have even really hit the way that it did, you know? Now, we can't go any further without talking about the comedic aspect of the film, or dark comedic aspect of the film. And I think that the movie does its best to balance that. It's not a straight up comedy. At least I didn't consider it to be 100% funny the entire time. But you know, there are parts of it that are slightly comedic. Obviously, the scenes where Tyler's rapping. His rap name is T Diamond Stylus, for anyone who cares. Don't really understand what it means or why he named himself that. But I'm not the guy who gets to evaluate rappers' names before they actually get big. So my opinion doesn't really count in that. Maybe T Diamond Stylus is like a legit hard rap name that somebody could actually get big on. I don't know. But yeah, so the comedy in the film, I think it was balanced enough. Wasn't super comedic, but it had its moments. What did you think about it?
I mean, I think the dark comedy was more effective for me before I fully realized that Tyler's antics were a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
I think that once you realize that, then it's like, oh, that's not quite as funny anymore.
Because now we're making fun of like a legit mental illness, and that's not funny.
I think he's struggling a bit.
Right.
He's struggling a bit.
But he is funny. Like when he sees his grandmother naked, he closes the door and he goes, "Jesus, Becca, I'm blind." Like, I thought that was funny. All right. So, what are we going to give this one, Andrea?
I gave it a 3.
3 cookies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a good rating. That's essentially what I was going to give it. It's a great movie. Entertaining, funny at times, graphic at times. It made me think a little bit. Maybe not too much, but enough. But, I mean, there are better horror films, in my opinion. There's better found footage films, in my opinion. This one was good, but it's not a top tier. It was edible. 3 means edible.
Yep.
Like, not a bad film. But there are better desserts. And speaking of desserts, in our Substack, we are actually gracing you with not 1, but 2 recipes this time. Why are we doing that, you ask? Are we just that awesome? Yes, we are. But the bigger reason is the first recipe that we did was very heavy on the dark chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are not really.
Don't actually like dark chocolate.
Not like that. I can eat a York peppermint patty, but that's about as far as it goes for me.
We were living on the wild side.
Yeah, and this recipe is a recipe where if you really love dark chocolate, you're going to absolutely love these cookies because they are so rich with that dark chocolate flavor and then the raspberry in there.
Mm-hmm.
They are good.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes good. It's just, it was a bit much for us not being fans of dark chocolate. So we decided to pivot a little bit and we created these amazing chocolate chip cookies with this raspberry coulis on top.
Which you might remember from last week if you listened to the Undertone episode.
Right. So we used that leftover raspberry coulis, put a nice little dollop in the middle of the cookie, then drizzled it with some chocolate syrup, and delicious. Absolutely scrumptious. Like, couldn't ask for it. That's how I want to eat my chocolate chip cookies from now on. Like, if they don't have that raspberry coulis on top, I'm going to feel like something's missing. So those are delicious. And you will be able to make both because we're giving you the recipe to the dark chocolate ones as well as the chocolate chip cookies with the raspberry coulis. You'll have both of those in the Substack. So make sure to go there to get those. So, M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit, we give it 3 cookies. It's edible, not bad, but not top tier. I'm fine with that, right?
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Everything can't be top tier.
Mm-hmm.
Some things just have to be the standard.
Just entertaining.
And just entertaining. For a found footage film done by M. Night Shyamalan, I feel like it was well done. So that's going to be it for this episode. I want to thank everybody for listening in. All you slashers and scream queens, make sure to head over to Chocolate Chip Horror's Substack so you can grab those recipes and read all the notes about them. And then also head over to the official Etsy store. Again, that's etsy.com/shop/chocolate chip horror. Go there, get yourself one of our limited edition cookie tins. There's only 2 left now. We only have 2 of the original 5 left.
Only 2.
So you got to be quick. You got to be real quick if you want those. There are already people who are like looking at these. So if you're a collector and you want to get the first that was ever released by the Chocolate Chip Horror podcast, now would be the time to do that. Other than that, we also have the bits and pieces sticker sheet. So it's like it looks like a cookie sheet. It's got 6 zombie stickers on there, perfect for slapping on a laptop, on a skateboard. You could put it on somebody's forehead. I don't care. But they're really good stickers. They look awesome, and you should have a lot of fun with those. Those are also in the Etsy store. And then in the meantime, just come and visit us in the digital graveyard. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Like, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comment section. We actually want to hear from you. And, let us know what you thought. What's your favorite found footage film? What's your favorite M. Night Shyamalan film? Let us know. So, until next crime, I'm the Wolfman Anthony.
And I'm the Queen of Harpies, Andrea.
Now get out of our graveyard.